A push to support Sioux Lookout seniors displaced by fire. FedNor gives money to Thunder Bay educational facilities. And finding the government was justified in invoking the Emergencies Act. Good evening and thank you for joining us. The community of Sioux Lookout is rallying to support dozens of seniors displaced by a major fire at a KDSB seniors housing facility nearly 2 weeks ago. The fire decimated one wing of the building, but some tenants have already been moved back into the undamaged units. Lee Noonan has the story.
11 units at the back of Patricia Plaza were destroyed in the February 4th fire, but officials say all 27 of the elderly tenants who were home at the time were evacuated without injury.
People started banging on the walls saying, "Fire, get out, get out." We barely had time to get dressed. Just grab what you could.
On Thursday, 11 tenants were moved back into the least damaged parts of the building, according to the KDSB. Many others, including Votary, have been able to return to collect their things. But for those in the units near the epicenter of the fire, that won't be possible.
Yeah, there were seniors who didn't have insurance who lost everything. And so so I think as a collective, as a community, we're working hard to make sure that when they move back home, that they won't be moving to an empty home.
It's not one of those, well, let's try, see if we can do this. They say we can promise that even if you don't have fire insurance or apartment insurance, they'll cover anything you need.
Mayor Doug Lawrence says he's grateful to the citizens and organizations of Sioux Lookout who've stepped up to help out.
And the community has responded tremendously to the fire, whether it be church groups or individuals, businesses, agencies. It was a wonderful response.
I knew that as soon as this happened, it was right beside my office, literally, that nobody was going to have insurance or anything like that. And my wife and I decided, probably about an hour and a half after the fire, to start the donations jar.
Hogue says they've raised more than $2,500 so far and hope to see that number go a lot higher. The fire has been ruled non-suspicious and is believed to have been caused by an electrical issue. Wall says emergency systems worked well and the fire was limited to one wing of the building, with only smoke or water damage in the remaining 26 units.
A unit could cost about $300,000 to rebuild, depending on the size. And so it's, it could be anywhere 2, 3, 4 million. It's quite substantial.
There's no firm timeline as to how long it may take to rebuild from the devastating fire. For now, everyone's just happy that residents were able to get out of the building safe and sound. Lee Noonan, TBT News.
3 local education facilities are splitting $2.1 million of federal funding to support the future workforce in the region. Mattawa Training and Wellness Center, Lakehead University, and Confederation College are getting the money to create new employment opportunities. Basilio Bellows reports.
Training, skill development, and employment in the region is the focus of $2.1 million in FedNor funding. It was announced at the Mattawa Training and Wellness Center, which is receiving $1 million, by Minister Patty Haidu, who's responsible for FedNor.
What we anticipate is going to be a really busy economic time with the demand for critical minerals, the new critical minerals strategy released by the federal government. In order to fully maximize the benefit to Northern Ontario, we need to make sure we have skilled people, and that's what these programs will do.
Mattawa Training and Wellness Center will use the funding to support its project to increase skills development. Plans are to renovate the second floor with the construction and upgrade of 5 classrooms, a computer lab, an apprenticeship workshop, and more. President Rosemary Muniz says that these improvements will set their students up for success in the workforce.
So we're going to have a lot of technology within the building and accessible to all the students. It'll give them greater experience as they go out and get jobs. They'll have a more experience to add to their resumes, and yeah, it'll be really good for them.
Confederation College is using their nearly $900,000 in funding for their Evergreen Outdoor Classroom project, which will include medicine gardens, a teepee location, and technology to enable remote learning in First Nations communities. President Kathleen Lynch believes this will make all students feel more comfortable at the college.
All our students really enjoy outdoor facilities, period. So it's going to create more of a welcoming environment for our Indigenous students, as well as other students who want to learn about Indigenous culture and become more knowledgeable about where we live in Northwestern Ontario. So it's important in that respect.
The remaining $233,000 is going to the Lakehead University Center for Environmental Stewardship program. It will see school faculty working with industrial partners, the Indigenous community, and municipalities on improved natural resource initiatives. Vasilios Bellows, TBT News.
Local MPP Kevin Holland also made a funding announcement today, this one at Confederation College. The Ford government is providing nearly $450,000 through the Northern Ontario Heritage Fund to support the modernization of the college's main lecture theatre. As Mike Lang tells us, it will enhance the school's applied arts and technology program and others.
We are providing $447,750 to the Confederation College of Applied Arts and Technology. And I'm really happy to be here doing that.
The provincial government's funding was one of the final contributions that Confederation College needed to complete the $2.4 million revitalization of their main lecture theatre. The project included an enhancement to the theatre's surround sound, the installation of a brand new 4K widescreen, upgrades to their 174 seats, and the addition of a new ramp to make the theatre compliant with the Accessibility for Ontarians Disabilities Act. Holland says the government supported the project to ensure that current and future college students can have a place to learn, grow, and realize their potential.
The room is remarkable. I can't believe the transformation from when I first saw it. And it's going to just enhance the programming here. I know I was talking with Richard here from the college, and he said that staff and faculty are so excited about what opportunities this room are going to bring for the students. So.
Oh, it's tremendous. I mean, we needed this space renovated, and having that extra funding here to turn this space into what it is today, it's vital. I mean, without their support, we'd never be able to turn this facility into what it is today.
The lecture theatre first opened in 1972, and while it is primarily used by film students, it's also a vital lecture hall for other programs, as well as a place for meetings and community events. Its revamp was also partially funded by a $125,000 donation from the John Andrews Foundation in January, and the final touches of the renovation were the displaying of Indigenous-themed paintings on the wall to represent its name, Dibaja Magamig.
This is really a core of what Confederation College is all about, and it's creating relationships all the time. And as the name means, it's the place where people tell stories. It's a place where stories are told. So we're excited about being able to, again, share stories and build community and relationships in this space.
The renovations were completed in December, and while it already started holding classes in January, the college is planning an official grand opening for the lecture theatre in March. Mike Lang, TBT News.
Well, the federal government was justified in using the Emergencies Act to end last year's Freedom Convoy occupation. That's according to the commission tasked with looking into the matter. But the report also calls out the Ford government over its reluctance to get involved. Siobhan Morris has more on what it means for the province.
In the cacophony of big rig horns echoing through the streets of Ottawa night and day, the inquiry looking into the federal government's use of the Emergencies Act concluded one voice was missing.
To have a whole chapter titled Ontario's Absence just about says it all.
Commissioner Paul Rouleau writes, I find the province of Ontario's reluctance to become fully engaged in efforts directed at resolving the situation in Ottawa troubling. The inquiry heard Ontario opted out of planning meetings, dismissing them as unhelpful. Frustrating for opposition MPPs who call Ottawa home.
I really think Doug Ford needs to do a lot better for Ottawa. I think he has absolutely shown cowardice in this moment.
I can't think of any other situation where in a time of emergency, a premier of the province has abandoned a region or a city in the way that he did Ottawa.
Commissioner Rouleau says it took a demonstration in another city for the province to get serious. It was not until Prime Minister Trudeau spoke to Premier Doug Ford on February 9th after the Ambassador Bridge blockade that collaboration became the name of the game. It is unfortunate that such collaboration did not take place days earlier. Rouleau says collaborating sooner could have also provided the people of Ottawa with a clear message that they had not been abandoned by their provincial government during a time of crisis.
He comes from the world of business. He understood what the Windsor Ambassador Bridge blockade meant to domestic trade. I think he got that. What I think he believes is that Ottawa belongs to somebody else.
A spokesperson for the Solicitor General's office writes in part, during the occupations in Ottawa and Windsor, our government was squarely focused on providing the tools our policing partners needed to bring the situation to an end, highlighting deployment of OPP officers and supporting local police services. But there, too, the Commission flagged a problem.
At one point, the Solicitor General claimed they'd sent 1,500 OPP officers, when actually she meant, 1,500 person days.
A statement Rouleau says was ill-advised.
That was CTV's Siobhan Morris reporting, and we'll have more on today's Emergencies Act report from the perspective of the federal government later on in the news hour. For the first time since before the pandemic, the Thunder Bay Police Service recognized officers and civilian staff for their performance in the line of duty at last night's Exemplary Service Awards ceremony. Kurt Black was there.
After being suspended for the past 3 years due to the COVID-19 pandemic, there was no shortage of deserving recipients at Thursday night's Exemplary Service Awards, as dozens of police officers and civilian staff were recognized for milestones including 20, 30, and 40 years of service in a ceremony at the Valhalla Hotel. The event was closed to the media in order to protect the identities of undercover officers. Acting Police Chief Dan Taddeo views these awards as increasingly significant, with all the challenges that officers face on a daily basis.
Personally, for me, it makes it that much more important because, yes, we become a bit of a focal point for a variety of reasons and for some. But when you see the good work that we do, it needs to be recognized in so many ways.
One of the officers honored Thursday was 20-year veteran of the force, Constable Gerald Duffy of the Primary Response Branch, whose compassionate response to a mental health call in which he de-escalated the situation through a conversation was highlighted as just one example of how he exemplifies the values of what it means to be a Thunder Bay police officer.
Your classic officer that comes to work every single day and puts 120% into the job, commitment to the citizens of Thunder Bay. And it's officers like this that need to be recognized and are being recognized.
Quite the cliche to say that it all goes by so fast. If I blink, it feels like I'm the junior guy in the room that my first day. And I just recently I reflected back and I look around the room and look for the old guy in the room, and I'm the old guy in the room, right? The experienced officer. Who then they look to me for some guidance or direction, and I'm always there to try to help them out.
And while Constable Duffy admitted to feeling great pride on being honored for his 2 decades of service, he knows there are countless others that are equally deserving as himself.
And the big thing that I would want to reiterate is that I look around the room tonight, and I can say that there's be dozens of people that deserve this award just as much as I do. That I work with a bunch of heroes.
Kurt Black, TBT News.
A big announcement this week for pop culture fans in the city. Thundercon is set to return to the CLE Fairgrounds on September 9th and 10th. About 2,000 fans showed up last year, and the organizers are planning for an even better experience this time around, with more vendors, food trucks, and a wider variety of entertainment for visitors to enjoy. Chair Linda Fogan-Madsen hopes to make it a fun and welcoming experience for everyone.
Come and be yourself, cosplay as your favorite character, nerd out, geek out, and you're welcome, and there's a lot of fun that goes on, and a lot of the feedback that we get is, thank you so much for allowing people to come and just be who they are.
There haven't been any special guest announcements just yet, but organizers hinted that people who love comic books will be excited. Well, Mitch, it was a very cold start to the morning today, but I went out around lunchtime and sun was shining, birds were chirping. It was quite pleasant.
Yeah, later in the day was definitely a lot nicer than it was this morning, because if you woke up early to head to work, it was definitely very cold. As you can see, temperatures down to -25, feeling like -32, and they would stay like that for a lot of the morning. Around later in the day, the temperature would pick up, but it would be later in the afternoon, up to -5, feeling like -12, wind from the southwest gusting from 5 to 24 kilometers an hour. We did see a little bit of sunshine, but there is some snow and flurries making their way into the region. As you can see, we showed this yesterday, a system making its way through, bringing some snow, especially lower down in the region, making its way from the west farther east into Ontario. Now, there is more snow behind that as well later in the week, and we will get to that in just a little bit. But as you can see, in the west side of the region, they did see snow earlier today, flurries on and off in Fort Frances and Kenora. Temperatures fairly warm, just like in Thunder Bay at the moment. Currently, that has cleared up with sunny skies at the moment. Farther northwest, the clouds are still sticking in the area. Not as much snow as the system is farther down in the south. Red Lake, though, a little bit colder at -8, with Pickle Lake down to -10. It's going to get to around -22 tonight. Now, still cold in Armstrong at -10 as well, heading to Greenstone at -9. Their wind chill could be around -23 tonight, so some colder conditions with some clouds moving into the area. They could also see some flurries as that system starts pushing farther to Sault Ste. Marie with a temperature of -8 currently. Plenty of sunshine, but they also could see some flurries heading into tonight. Now, as for Thunder Bay, we are going to see some clouds in the area. We do have a chance of flurries as that system makes its way through, but it shouldn't last throughout all of the night. Temperature is going to be down to -9, feeling like -13, and the wind is going to be gusting from the west-southwest from 13 to 33 kilometers an hour. Now, there is more snow behind that system that could affect us throughout the week and even bring some freezing rains, which we did not like on the roads this week, but hopefully that system stays away a little bit longer, but I'll have more on that in just a little bit.
Okay, thanks, Mitch. Well, when we return, we'll have more on the report today regarding the use of the Emergencies Act to clear out last year's Freedom Convoy protests from Ottawa. A report finding that the federal government was justified in invoking the act. We'll have all the details as your Friday News Hour continues.
I do not come to this conclusion easily, as I do not consider the factual basis for it to be overwhelming.